It was an absolutely wild all-star race at Texas Motor Speedway that saw no shortage of controversy whatsoever. Several drivers suffered tire failures, most notably Kyle Busch, which led to a frightening accident that collected both Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott. The biggest controversy, however, occurred coming to the checkered flag. Ryan Blaney was being called home to the win by Mike Joy in the Fox Sports booth, but the caution lights came on right as Blaney was mere feet away from taking the checkered flag as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. brushed the wall coming off of turn 2. Now, the All-Star Race's overtime rules were a little bit different. They required a green flag finish. Even if the leader had taken the white flag, it had to finish under green no matter what. Blaney thought he had won the race and took his window net down before he was informed by his team that the race was not over. Now, Blaney was unable to fully reattach his window net, but NASCAR allowed him to stay on the track as the race restarted. He did go on to win the race. I think it was very fortunate that he did, given the controversy that has already ensued. It would have only been amplified had that cost him the win. But NASCAR race control came under major scrutiny for not only throwing the last caution, but also allowing Blaney to finish the race without the window net. Now, here is Denny Hamlin not holding back when it comes to race control and what should have happened in the closing laps. Take a look.
Bob, I'm sure you will tweet the rule.
Yeah.
At some point.
I mean, they told
it's not, listen, I'm not trying to, this isn't a Denny Hamlin judgment call. I'm just saying, whatever the rule is, let's be consistent and play by the rule. It's unfortunate because he made a mistake. He should have won the race. He was 100 yards from winning the race. But many cars have not won races because of green-white checkered or because of a mistake on a restart at the end. Those things happen. All I ask is that we know what the rules are and we play by them. Where NASCAR really got away with one is we nearly crashed off 2, and so when I send them headfirst into traffic and the window net's down, I don't know, then they got a lawsuit on their hands.
And that video is from Bob Pockras of Fox Sports. Now, Bob did tweet the rule shortly after tweeting that video, and it states as follows: all window net assembly fasteners must be properly tightened and remain tight during an event. No tape, zip ties, or other devices may be used on the window net at any time except a single half-inch wide loop of tape around the forged steel latch release lever. The window net must remain flat and tight when in the race position. Bunching, twisting, or rolling of the window net is not permitted. All 1-inch square openings must remain 1-inch square openings when in the race position. Kobe, I think you summed it up very well for all of us and said what all of us were thinking. Very simply, what's going on? I think that's the question that a lot of us were asking last night. Josh, I want to start with you here. In all the series that you cover, I know right before we came on, you brought up Abu Dhabi last year in Formula One. Have you ever seen so much controversy occur so fast and so quickly?
No. And that's surprising because we've had things in the past like Indianapolis, everyone pulling into the grid. But let's not count that one because we knew about it in the morning. The meetings were going on all day. Let's not count Pirelli's Tiregate issues at Silverstone in 2012 because that was happening throughout the race and throughout the weekend. We knew there was going to be a problem. Let's not count Abu Dhabi because we went into that weekend thinking if this happens, then this is going to happen. There's already controversy surrounding the weekend. There was a big negative air around it all as well. It just blew up and it happened. This came out completely out of nowhere. It was literally like someone had just lit a match and threw it in as a passerby. It was fantastic. As somebody, I watched the race, not live. I taped it and watched it this morning when I woke up. I had no clue what happened as well. Purposely kept on social media. And as soon as we got to that, I went on Twitter and all of a sudden it was just bang, out it was. First tweet I saw was what you saw. I saw Kobe's tweet and thinking, okay, is there something else I've missed here as well? Then I started looking as well. At the same time I was reading through Twitter on my, it was on my phone, but we're using the phone. It was happening in front of me as well. So I was having more information than you lot had at the time. The window net being down, that should have been a black flag, but then again, the race should have been over. NASCAR came out and said, yeah, we made a mistake. The race director, he threw the caution a bit too quickly as well. He saw something that thought would have been a problem, so he reacted instinctively. That's great. Keep the drivers safe. What isn't right is the fact is that we have this rule where if the white flag is shown, the next flag ends the race, regardless what it is, yellow, checker, anything. We need to have that rule in place throughout the season, otherwise it's going to get confusing. Now, I said as well, why is it this overtime rule keeps delaying things? We need to get it done. I suggested two things. One, if we go to a restart and the track gets blocked, then we go to a red flag and we have a green white checker. That's fine. But if there's only one car and the track isn't blocked and they can get through safely at slow speeds, then throw the caution and just end the race there. That needs to be the rule because otherwise this is just ridiculous. I akined it to what happened, Ben, you said it was 2001 in the All-Star race where the track was wet, everyone wanted to turn one, they all crashed. And I thought, oh, great, that's it. But then NASCAR said, you race your backup cars. So this isn't the first time we've seen controversy in the All-Star race. It's certainly not going to be the last. I'm of the opinion that why are we having All-Star races slap bang in the middle of the season? It doesn't make sense and they don't work. They confuse and anger everybody. Last night, I think, was the last straw. And I know somebody, I think it was you, Ben, who put out maybe Ryan Blaney should have £2 million rather than the 1 million because he did win the race twice. And poor old Mike Joy, he was not happy at all.
Well, $2 million here in the States, but
of course, yes,
you get the point. Yes,
yeah.
That's exactly what I tweeted. He won the race twice. I think NASCAR owes him $2 million, and I think I also jokingly said maybe they'll fine him $1 million for racing without the window net and just take the prize away. But who knows what all is going to happen in the fallout of that. Kobe, I'll give you a chance to answer the question now as well.
Oh boy, this is All-Star Race at Texas Motor Speedway. I'm gonna try to be as nice as I can about this, but to say the least, it was a comedy of errors right from the start. And looking at the continued issues we've seen with the Goodyear tires, it makes me very worried about the Coca-Cola 600. Next Sunday night at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Texas heat is always brutal this time of year. We saw more Goodyear tires issues. The Coca-Cola 600 Memorial Day weekend at Charlotte, it's always really hot, and thankfully they're going to start in the late evening, and we're going to go deep into the night for 600 miles. But with the way things are going, I'm thinking that Coca-Cola 600 might end up being a race of attrition and seeing which drivers' tires are going to step and which ones are gonna pop. And I feel like we shouldn't be having that conversation at this point in the season. I feel like NASCAR, Goodyear, and the team should have been able to figure out something by this point and getting onto the controversy itself with the finish of the All-Star race. I think a lot of people really had no idea what was going on. That's why I said what's going on. I was reading the All-Star rules before the races started, in between Indy 500 qualifying and the All-Star Open, and I saw in the rules it says that just for the All-Star race, the race must end under green flag conditions, like no matter what. And I read that and I'm like, oh, just shrugged my shoulders. I didn't really think that something like this would actually happen, where that one rule that I'm sure a lot of people skipped over would end up determining how everybody felt about this race. And you even had some of the most prominent motorsports journalists on Twitter that tweeted Ryan Blaney wins the All-Star race. But I know the rules from what I saw, so that's why I hesitated to tweet it, because I saw that you could see the checker flag in the flagman's hand, and then you look on Twitter and you see all of the motorsports journalists tweeting Ryan Blaney wins the All-Star race. But I decided not to, because then I saw the caution lights come on. Everybody thinks the race is over. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is about to be some major trouble. And then the issue with the window net and Ryan Blaney, there was no way that window net was up as safe as it could be, and that was a major issue there. I thought NASCAR might want to be generous and let Ryan Blaney come in and fix the window net, and then let him reclaim his position at the beginning of the field. But all in all, I feel like NASCAR was way too trigger happy with that caution, and the incident that warranted that caution actually did not warrant a caution. It was just Ricky Stenhouse just brushed the wall. Honestly, they should have just threw the checker flag there, and like literally, he was just yards away from taking the checker flag. The race should have been over then and there, and that move just really goes to show you that NASCAR really values entertainment over sport integrity nowadays. That's all. That's what it's all about. They want to have those Game 7 moments, and I understand that, but at the same time, I feel like it was a really bad look for the sport last night, and I do appreciate Scott Miller for coming out and speaking to the media after the race, and admitting that we messed up, that that the person in race control, the race director, got a little trigger happy with the caution, and it probably shouldn't have happened. And then Marcus Smith, the CEO at SMI, went on NASCAR Sirius XM today, and he was very defensive over everything that went on, and he said they sold more tickets this year at the All Star race at Texas Motor Speedway. And I'm going to read a quote that Smith said, according to Jeff Gluck from the Athletic, said, and Smith said, "There's just some people out there who like to complain more than anything. If you talk to the fans who were there, they had a great time. But the thing is, that's just a sample size of what went on. And I'm pretty sure a lot of fans, whether you were there in person, watching anywhere around the world, I think a lot of people were really disappointed in how the All Star race ended, because it should just be it should be all about a night of fun, to relax, not take it seriously, but still it ended up being a major boo boo on NASCAR's forehead, and that's very reflected on the Jeff Gluck poll. Was it a good race? I think we might set a record for the worst race of all time in the Jeff Gluck poll. Last time I looked, it was at 10% of people who said they liked the race, and a whopping 90% who strongly disliked it.
That's Team LH. They've got on board, and they just smell injustice and like to fly around.
Obviously, I'm going to break the moderator's role here for a second because I have to get my thoughts on this as well. And I really don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll start with Scott Miller's comments, Kobe, like you just brought up. Credit to him for taking ownership and saying we made a mistake, we messed up, the caution should not have come out. Doesn't really do much to change the fact when you say that after it happens, but at least he did own up to it. Marcus Smith's comments, though, I have a bit of an issue with. First of all, the fan experience is always better at the track as opposed to watching it at home. You're there with, tens of thousands of other race fans. You're seeing and hearing the track or the cars on the track for yourself. So the experience is always going to be better. It doesn't matter what happens on the track. I guess the only time the experience might have been better at home than at the track was Spa last year for Formula One, when those fans were getting soaked and they didn't even see a race. But I've said this in multiple tweets now, just having this conversation. Last night was the Mount Everest of incompetence when it comes to race control and race direction and how this race was run. You can't get any higher. You can talk about the 2008 Brickyard 400 with the tire issues. You can talk about the 2005 United States Grand Prix. You can talk about Abu Dhabi last year and what happened in the controversy that led to Max Verstappen taking the title from Lewis Hamilton. You can talk about Spa last year as well. You can talk about the All-Star race 21 years ago. But when there's safety on the line, that's when things really get out of hand. And I think, for NASCAR to allow Ryan Blaney to say they were satisfied, I don't know how you can look at that rule book and then look at the state of Ryan Blaney's window net during that last overtime period and say with a straight face, yeah, he was perfectly safe. There's nothing to be concerned about there. It clearly was not up all the way. And NASCAR should have, in my opinion, not black flagged him, but allowed him to come down pit road to refasten it, because NASCAR has even admitted now that they messed up and threw the caution too quickly. So why not give him the opportunity to come down, slow everybody down, let him rejoin the pack, and then have your entertaining overtime finish, I suppose. The overtime rule also makes no sense to me. I've been very critical of overtime in general, particularly because racing is not a timed sport. So why have we settled on the overtime name instead of green, white, checker? But that's neither here nor there on this subject. Josh, like you were saying, I think I know they always test these things during the All-Star race because it's an exhibition, but this is one area where I think they certainly overstepped that didn't need to happen. When you talk about finishing under green, no matter what, I mean, God forbid if there had been a fireball in a car that had gone into the catch fence, which actually would have warranted a caution, no doubt, but that wasn't the case with Stenhouse. But if that had happened, do we spend 2 hours repairing the catch fence and the track part of the track got burned in the fire, and we have to finish under green even if it happens at 1 a.m. in the morning? I mean, I just don't like setting that precedent at all, because obviously you never know what's going to happen, and you always have the potential for big accidents if you set that kind of rule at the end of the race, because everybody's turning it up to 11 and they're being a little bit more bold with their moves because it's the last chance. So there's just so much that happened here, and I know we have more of a show to get to. I don't want to monopolize our time, but it was, like I said, just the Mount Everest of incompetence all the way around. There's no other way to describe it.
I've got a feeling that we're going to see big shifts in NASCAR's control as well as these races as well, because I think it was getting ridiculous the amount of cautions we saw in as well. I mean, even think about back to Daytona as well. We saw cautions for people just brushing the wall. I mean, I think one of them as well was because they were slightly high, didn't even touch the wall, and the caution came out as well. I think it ended one of the stages as well. It's a really strange rule. I know safety is paramount, but that we're going racing with kid gloves. It's a bit pathetic. Put it as basically as I can. It's no longer racing. For me, actually, it feels like I've got no interest now in watching a race like an all-star race again, because there's no excitement, there's no pressure, and to me as well, there's now no reward, because if they did, Ryan Blaney should have won that. He did win it, luckily, but if he didn't, it's not racing anymore. And even, what does Adam say there? I didn't miss that. I didn't like NASCAR All-Star Race. Ross Chastain's accident was bad. Surprised he did not flip over. Yeah, that was a weird one as well. If we go racing, there should be more on the line. Yes, it's an exhibition race, as you say, but in the middle of a season, of a cup series as well, let's not do these silly gimmicks. Let's get on with the racing. And we were talking about it on the shows throughout the week as well. Dropping the stages as well, getting back to pure racing, I think that would increase the viewership, no doubt. And a damage limitation now and cosmetic surgery is needed for the championship.